Hi everyone, I'm Sylvia and I am here with another story that will spark your morbid curiosity. Yeah, I kind of tried to dress kind of Australia looking today. I don't know, these always remind me of Australian people. If you were born in 1996 or before, you've definitely heard the phrase, "A dingo ate my baby," or "A dingo's got my baby" at some point in your life. I think this phrase really blew up when Elaine said it on Seinfeld. In my opinion, it's not even one of the best parts of the show, but it's one of the most famous. The phrase was also immortalized through the film A Cry in the Dark, which is about this very incident. Apparently this is a really good movie, and it earned Meryl Streep an Oscar nomination for playing the baby's mother.
Yo, get out. There's Dingo in the tent.
Did you go to university, Greg?
Dingo's got the baby!
You can drink it.
God, no, please, God, help me. The Dingo's got my baby!
This phrase was even said on Australia's version of RuPaul's Drag Race when one of the queens dressed up as the baby's mom during an improv challenge. In all, it's been used in dozens of movies and shows throughout the 90s and 2000s.
Maybe the dingo ate your baby. What? The dingo ate your baby.
I don't think so. You're all the way in Australia. Hey, I think I hear a dingo eating your baby.
Is it true a dingo ate your baby?
Listening to Dingo and the Baby.
Dingo and the Baby. I like ice cream too, mate. Alligators and dingo babies.
I'm sorry a dingo ate your baby.
You know that's a true story. Lady lost a kid.
But what does it all mean? Do dingoes eat babies? Apparently, they do. Dingoes look like dogs, but they're wild and they're not very friendly to humans. They're confined to Australia, where they're the country's largest carnivore, despite only being 30 pounds. Dingoes are pretty reserved, like coyotes or wolves would be, but they will get close to humans occasionally, especially if they're around them a lot and there's food nearby. There have been a few recorded dingo attacks, and we're talking about one of those today. Lindy and Michael Chamberlain had their daughter Azaria Chamberlain back in 1980. The family decided to take a camping trip to the plains of Uluru, Australia, when the baby was just 3 months old. This area is gorgeous and you can drive out there. It doesn't require a lot of walking, so they decided to bring their baby. They're just going to spend some time under the stars. Michael was a minister of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and he and Lindy have been married for 10 years. Together they have 3 children, Aiden, age 6, Reagan, age 4, and Azaria, who is tiny. They begin to explore this gorgeous area that is Ayers Rock, and these bold colors change in the sunlight. I would honestly love to visit this area someday. Lindy takes a stroll through Fertility Cave with Azaria in her arms. She says that she looked up during this and noticed that a dingo was watching her. This made her very uncomfortable and she felt like she was being hunted. They make friends with another couple at Uluru who are also there with their kid and baby. The two families have dinner at the campsite's picnic tables. They notice that the dingoes are being very bold and coming up to them. These animals are just yards away from them. Michael Chamberlain even throws one of the dingoes a piece of bread, and Lindy says, quote, "Stop encouraging them," before telling everybody that she's going to put Azaria to bed in their tent. Lindy comes back out and sits down with everybody. They're all just having one of those casual after dinner chats. After a little bit of this, they hear a cry in the dark, hence the name of the movie, coming from the Chamberlain's tent. Lindy walks over, and the entrance of the tent was actually facing away from the picnic tables. And as she walks over, she turns around and runs back and says, "The dingo's got my baby." She's hysterical, and she says that she saw a dingo running from the tent. They try to go after it, but it's pitch black and like 10 o'clock at night. They're humans trying to chase after an animal in its element. They're not going to have much luck. Somebody eventually calls the police while everybody else searches for baby Azaria. The first cop to arrive, named Frank Morris, shined a light across the floor of the Chamberlain tent and said that he noticed blood on one of the rugs. There are also paw prints leading away from the tent's entrance, but the tracks faded as soon as they hit a paved road. Despite 300 people turning out to search for baby Azaria, there is no luck in finding her. It's a very somber night. Lindy and the children are distraught. Michael is actually not helping with the search. People say that he seems very unemotional, and he even said out loud, well, she's probably dead now. Which, I mean, I think is true. I don't think animals really take their food and keep it alive. 1 week after Azaria's disappearance, a hiker found a tattered footy jumpsuit and a nappy. This hiker was very experienced with the area, so he of course already knew about Azaria's case. He calls the police and gives them the nappy and jumpsuit. He also mentions that he himself had noticed a change in the dingo behavior compared to years past. The coroner takes a look at this jumper. This is the first inquest. They notice that there's a lot of blood around the neck of it, and there's a tear in one of the sleeves. However, the tear is very, very clean, but they still conclude that Azaria was killed by a wild animal. When they tell Lindy this, she asks about Azaria's jacket, and they say that they didn't find one, but Lindy insists that Azaria was wearing a matching jacket the night she was taken. They can't locate this jacket, and this information, along with her behavior, begins to raise a lot of eyebrows in the police department. People said that Lindy seemed off and was dressing too provocatively to be a grieving mother. Some officers also began to express doubts that a 30-pound dingo can carry a 10-pound baby in his jaws. And this doubt quickly snowballed into hate, and people started saying that the Chamberlains had killed their own child. Of course, the rumor mill is circulating, and rumors a lot of the time don't even make sense. People started saying that Azaria meant sacrifice in the wilderness, but it doesn't. It means gift from God or something simple like that. There's also a lot of judgment because Seventh-day Adventists are not very common in Australia, so people start judging them because of that as well. The media began to follow the parents constantly, taking photos of Lindy's, quote, inappropriate clothes, even though I think she looks cute as hell. God forbid a beautiful woman wears a sundress on a hot day in Australia. Of course, Lindy is bearing the brunt of the public's cruelty. There's no winning with this. If she smiled, it was, oh, she's not even sad. And then if she's seen crying, then it's, oh, she's a bad actress. She's just being so theatrical. People think it's a red flag that they owned a black dress for their baby. I guess because demon worshippers wear black. I don't really know. While the media storm is building, the police ask to search the Chamberlains' car that they had with them that day. They do find something troubling. They find what looks like blood spatters all over the front dashboard and then a pool of blood on one of the floorboards. They find a smudge of blood on the zipper of a camera case as well. This leads the team to theorize that Lindy took Azaria to the car when she said that she was putting her to bed in the tent, and in the car she slit her baby's throat and then hid the body inside of a camera bag. They also look at the jumper and they notice that the lacerations are very clean. They don't think that a dingo's teeth would have done this. They also notice that there's a small handprint that they think belongs to a female, i.e. Lindy. So then the coroner comes out with another statement saying, quote, the body of Azaria was taken from the possession of the dingo and disposed of by an unknown method by person or persons unknown. Lindy keeps insisting that there's a missing jacket, but this actually fuels the police's theory that she took Azaria from the dingo and then hid the body and the clothes somewhere out in Uluru. In 1981, Lindy and Michael are put on trial for the murder of their baby. This is around 2 years after the events actually happened, and Lindy is visibly pregnant. The police present all of this evidence about there being blood spatter in the car and then the scratches on the baby's jumpsuit not being animalistic enough. The jumpsuit was also only unbuttoned like 4 buttons down, and they were saying that if an animal was eating her, then they would have like ripped the jumpsuit in half, and the jumpsuit just seemed very intact for an animal attack. Lindy was sentenced to life in prison, and Michael was sentenced to 3 years for accessory to murder. Lindy gives birth to her baby in prison and files a repeal, but it's rejected. Now, Lindy hasn't lost just Azaria, she's losing the beginning years of her child's life. A break comes in early 1986 when a tourist falls to his death at Ayers Rock. People search for him, and during this search, they locate Azaria's missing jacket. A judge orders for the immediate release of Lindy. Michael was already out of prison at this time, and a retrial. The police also retest the evidence that was found in the car and find that the blood stain on the floorboard was chocolate milkshake, and that the blood spatter on the dashboard was actually a chemical that was used in the manufacturing process. Really? You guys couldn't have figured this out before? Like, are you kidding me? I feel like even just with your eyes you would be able to figure out that that's not the same thing as blood. Like, it's a chocolate milkshake! On September 15th, 1988, the North Territory Court of Criminal Appeals in Australia unanimously overturned all convictions against Lindy and Michael Chamberlain. The Chamberlains filed a lawsuit and won over $1 million for wrongful imprisonment. However, this only covered 1/3 of their legal costs. Lindy and Michael also missed the first years of their other child's life, and you can't get that back. So not only did they lose their baby Azaria, but then they lost the baby phase of their other child. And for some reason the country cannot leave this case alone, and they re-examine it in 1995, where they determined that Azaria's cause of death was unknown. And this all finally stops in 2012 after Lindy requests a fourth examination of the case. Coroner Elizabeth Morris determines that Azaria was killed by a dingo and publicly offers her condolences to the Chamberlains. Since then, there have been hundreds of documented dingo attacks on humans, especially small children. One man even chased after a dingo after it got his baby, but it dropped it from its jaws as it was running away, and he was able to grab the child and everything was fine. This truly was a trial by media, and all of the damning evidence against Lindy wouldn't have even been allowed if this trial hadn't been so consumed by the public's pressure. They thought that the jumpsuit had a cut in it that was similar to a knife, but basic dingo knowledge will tell you that their teeth are sharp enough to bite through a seatbelt. So of course it's going to bite through that soft fabric of a jumpsuit.
It's biology.
Then there's the whole thing about the blood spatter in their car that wasn't even blood spatter. And on top of that, dingoes are notoriously clean eaters. So instead of like ripping something completely apart, they just like take little bits of it. And they think that once the jumpsuit was ripped open, those 4 buttons, that they just like pulled the baby out of it. The Dingo Got My Baby story of Lindy Chamberlain is regarded as the biggest miscarriage of justice in the country's history. Lindy was out of prison by the time A Cry in the Dark came out, and Elaine went off on that lady at that house party, so accusations trickled into jokes. A lot of people were saying the joke without realizing that it was about a lady who lost her 3-month-old baby. I blame the word dingo. It just sounds silly. Shortly after Lindy was released from prison, she and Michael divorced. That same year, she wrote In My Eyes, which is a memoir about the events that transpired on that night in Uluru. Michael died of cancer in 2017. Lindy has since remarried, and she still lives in Australia. Lindy gave her latest interview in 2020, where she reflected on how it's been 40 years since all of this went down. She says that she still hears dingo howls when she walks down the street. 40 years later. If there's any silver lining to this story, it's that Lindy was in very high spirits in this interview for somebody who's been through so much trauma. She evidently has a very vibrant personality and hasn't lost her love of fashion. When the interviewers asked how she coped with all of this, she said that you have to go through life being able to laugh at yourself, or you're not going to be able to get through it. Lindy also says that other people's opinion of her is their problem, not hers. And her motto is to be yourself because you'll be judged regardless of what you do. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe if you liked this video. Drop a comment below about a case that you'd love for me to cover in my next video. Thank you so much. I really enjoy doing these cases with you guys, and I truly, truly appreciate you watching them. So thank you so much. Bye.